Hi, and welcome back to Your True Work by Métier Council. We are here to talk through session 4 of the Resilience Lab. And if you've been following, the Resilience Lab is a tiny group of us that are working together on a consultation basis. Each week, we are taking the time to figure out what we can do to sell our products directly to our target audience in this time of stagnation that's happening around us. In session 4, we focused on ads. We focused on client acquisition. How are we bringing them in and keeping them there and ultimately converting them? So that brings me to our guest today, Matt Marciante. Thank you so much for coming here.
Thanks for having me.
I am so excited that you were able to join us today because I really got to see the fruits of our labor coming from session 1 all the way to session 4. Everything that we've learned about ourselves, what we're trying to put out there is nothing if you can't actually communicate that and get people to convert and stay in the program that you're trying to offer to them. And I felt like you helped us figure out what we can do with what we've learned so far. So thank you. Matt here owns Pretty Decent Marketing, and he is a consultant. What I find really cool about what you do is not only do you customize a plan for your business owners to do themselves, but you can actually manage it for them as well. I love thinking about how you've arrived at this place as a consultant and with your company, because it sounds like it came from a place of being a founder and being frustrated with the results that you were or were not getting from the agencies that you were hiring. So backstory on Matt Marciante is that he has 2 businesses that he has run for the last 7-8 years. One of them is Marciante & Co., shoes, bag, fashion. You can find anything you need there. Then you have Mission Leather, which is super cool. You have MacBook cases and small goods. And it sounds like you do wholesale and as well as online shopping. You really did all of the leather goods there.
Yep.
So you started it during the COVID phase. And what I love about your story is that you have remained. It was very easy to give up and throw the towel in, but you really stuck to it and you are still around, you're still thriving, and now you're thriving because of your own injections. So with ads, with email marketing, that's all been under your control because you didn't like what you were receiving. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, so we tried going the agency route and working with experts and gurus and even big out-of-the-box agencies as well. They all had a similar one-size-fits-all approach. They had templates that they wanted to walk through and kind of copy-pasting strategies from one brand to the next, but it just really doesn't work like that. And so we wasted tons of time and money and found ourselves very quickly to a point where we needed to change something or else we were going to go out of business. And so we had to start learning it ourselves, and I took on email marketing as the first thing. We already had a nice little email list, and the first step was trying to capture customers that we already have and re-engage them and use that to increase revenue. And so yeah, started from there and then added ads to that and some other things to round out the full marketing spectrum. But yeah, it was really that kind of desperation, back against the wall situation that led to figuring out how all of this works.
What was the moment where you realized, wait, I think I can actually do this well? I mean, the name is Pretty Decent Marketing.
Yeah.
What was that moment like?
So Pretty Decent obviously is a little bit tongue-in-cheek and comes from all of the alpha, elite, A1, best marketing agencies that puff up their chest and then they weren't doing anything. I mean, I wasted tons of money and it was anything but what they claimed to be. But I found small nuggets of truth in what they were doing. And parts of the system made sense if it were just tweaked a little bit and tailored to my specific business, or if I could inject my personality or my brand's voice into it and then to make it work for me. And so that's where I got the idea to start tinkering with it. And so take pieces, and even at one point I was hiring experts on Upwork to spend an hour or 2 hours with me and would screen share and go into my ad account or my email account and ask them to critique what I had set up, or I would have an idea in my mind and then I would ask them to take control and set something up, and I would see, how closely aligned we were. And that's really how I built the confidence to to find out that I knew I was on the right track.
Are you saying that you hired someone to see if they would do what you do and how it measured up against what you would do?
Basically, yeah. I mean, because no one else would be honest, right? Like if I asked an agency, like, hey, can I ask you a quick question? Would this work? They're not going to give me an answer to that because they wanted me to be locked into a retainer before they would help with anything. Also, little things that are like major red flags now that I wish I had known back then is running my ads. They wanted to do it from their account, or they would create like a Klaviyo account or a MailChimp account that they were the admin for, and they would just add me to it versus me actually owning the account and the data being mine. So as soon as my relationship with them ended, so did my use of that platform and the data that was inside of it. So it really was kind of adding in some accountability for myself. I wanted to see, am I on the right track? Like, I feel like I'm getting the hang of this, but am I going the right direction? And so I would just hire someone and play dumb and say, hey, if you were going to build an abandoned cart flow for this specific thing, what would you do? What would that look like? And then I would watch their steps and see like if that lined up with what I was thinking.
From personal conversation, and it sounded like you were ready to have a huge inflow of customers coming to you, but it just never came because the agencies, the people you were hiring, were not able to produce what they said they were going to produce.
Yeah.
So what's it like now?
Now it feels pretty dialed in. It feels like a well-oiled machine because, yeah, as we said before, I think I spent a lot of years preparing for the influx of volume that I just knew the agencies would bring. And so my business was prepared for that growth. The growth just wasn't prepared for the growth. And when I finally got to take the reins and take control of that, and I could turn the knob myself and bring the growth, the business was ready because we had already been preparing to scale before we even got to that moment. So
That is so cool. I'm such a fan of what you and your wife have been doing at both of the companies. And what I love about your story is that you never settled. Like, even when you figured it out for your own company, you didn't settle. You decided to share it and say, hey, friend, I guess you opened it up to who?
there's a couple of close friends that they were kind of in a similar situation. They had small businesses and just couldn't quite get over the hump or couldn't quite solve that puzzle. And yeah, I wanted to step in and help basically provide what I wasn't able to find for myself. I did have a really great mentor help me with Facebook ads, like spent several months with me, helping me deconstruct what I thought I had learned from agencies and YouTube videos and all that stuff, and really simplified it and made it make sense for me. And then I was able to build on that foundation and learn it for myself in a holistic way that actually works. And so taking that experience and passing it forward and helping businesses find success and take control of their own destiny. So,
And I hear that come up a lot when you talk about your reason for making the company. So with that in mind, that's why I invited you to be a part of the Resilience Lab, specifically session 4 out of 5, because like I mentioned before, everything that we've done has been like blocks one in front of the other, and we have now gotten to the point where if we know what we're doing, who we're selling to, how do we make sure that they see it? And so we mainly have service providers in our group right now. So we actually naturally found ourselves talking more about email marketing strategies. Were you surprised by any of the direction that we ended up going?
I really enjoy the content part of the conversation probably the most. And so I think we got not super deep into that, but it was a little more in the strategy, the composition of the funnel. I think that became a bigger conversation than I anticipated, but really important. I mean, how do people find your business? How do they engage with your business? And even part of the conversation was creating 2 different buckets for the same brand. Like, it would be 2 totally different customers. And I think that aspect of the strategy is a lot of fun to spend some time on. And again, that's something that you're probably not going to get from just an out of the box agency experience. They're going to be like, here's what you get for your business and do whatever you want with it. But recognizing that there's 2 definitive revenue streams that are probably going to be 2 totally different groups of people, and being able to have them both come from the same place and engage with the same brand takes just a little bit of finesse and some creativity.
Coordinating. Yeah, creativity, that's a good word for it. To give context to what you're talking about, we're talking about one of the coaches, one of the consultants that is in the group, and how she offers consulting, but she's also dabbling into a more influencer or even sometimes ambassador role. And so she wants to be able to market to both people, but they're not necessarily the same people.
Yeah.
The consultants are very luxe clients that are ready for something like consulting versus other products that she's endorsing. The great thing about this is that in her taking that authority to talk freely and share her knowledge, she can talk to relatively the same group, but ultimately she's creating different channels for each to capture each one of those customers. And it took some coaching to get there. It's funny how almost like in hindsight, things are like so clear and so plain, but it did take coaching at the beginning. Even at the beginning of our resilience lab, she wasn't quite sure what she wanted to do. In the past, she had done consulting, but she felt like she needed to offer more, and she didn't even know what that more was. And now we find ourselves in a place where it's like, oh, duh, just make a funnel that caters to each one of your customer base and sometimes talk directly to one of those customers and make sure they're clicking on this link versus this link. And then it'll just set off a chain of reaction where they'll be able to hear more from you. It's just mind-blowing, the difference that conversations, community can give you. Those brainstorming sessions, working with a consultant, that it's not like we're coming up with what they need to do. It's more, how would you explain it?
I think part of the, I guess for lack of better words, sensation maybe for me that unlocks some creativity in that was just finding out that you can do something. So like using this same example, for her it may have been very straightforward, like I want this type of client, this is what I need to do. But as she started talking and saying, explaining that she's an authority in that space and also has this affiliate link side of the business that she could tap into and a lot of people would be interested in that wasn't even a part of the conversation before, it's the knowledge of, well, you can just have two different lists and two different links, and one is I'm interested in these products and one is I'm interested in building my own brand, and they each have their own customer journey that takes them down this email flow. But unless you have the knowledge that the technology exists or the method exists to create two different channels like that, she may not have even started exploring that as an option.
And speaking of technology existing, there was one clear winner in our circle today as far as what you like to use, what you've had success in using, and what software was that?
Yeah, Klaviyo for sure. I very strongly endorse Klaviyo as email service provider.
It's easy to use for first timers. That was big for me. I was like, let's not scare the people that we're helping out today if we don't have any experience running email marketing programs. And so I really liked being able to dive into that. Here's something that I'm excited to offer to the members of Métier Council is being able to hear from you to break down like what these keywords are once you're starting to run an email marketing. But for the purpose of this podcast, can you teach us a little bit about like some of the top things that you can do with email marketing?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the reasons I like Klaviyo so much is because of the amount of data that it holds for each person on your list. So whether it's a service-based business or a product-based business, you can go to someone's profile and you're going to see any data that it has captured from them at any point with them experiencing your business. So they opened this email, they clicked on this button, they viewed this page on the site this number of times even. So you can even use that to gauge how interested they might be in a specific part of the business. And then with all that information from an audience standpoint, you can build out segments. Let's say I wanted to build a highly interested segment. I can do that and set up a rule that if you have clicked on this particular page 5 times or more, then it's going to automatically put you in this segment to send something to that specific group of people. So it just makes it, for the audience standpoint, it makes it very specific in what you're communicating, which makes it a lot more effective instead of just a blanket email to the whole list who may or may not be interested because you're just guessing and just throwing it out there. But this makes it hyper specific so that it's the right message getting to the right person at the right time.
Is this something that you recommend to busy founders, or is this really reserved for people who have teams? Like, what have you experienced?
I think it's both. It's going to be more heavy lifting on the front end. Klaviyo can do a lot of things, but it doesn't mean that you have to do a lot of things. So you can keep it very simple. There are some templates. They will have some segments for you that are already pre-programmed. You can use those. And even from an email flow standpoint, which I feel like that's probably something important to differentiate, is the three main buckets of email sends would be a flow, which is an automation. So things that you build it one time and then it's just going to happen automatically. You don't have to touch it anymore. A campaign, which would be like a sale or a product launch, something seasonal, but like a one-off email send, most likely to the whole audience, but there might be cases where you split it up. And then a newsletter, which would be something static either every week or every month where you're sending out information and providing value to your list. And Klaviyo can very easily help you manage all three of those things. They're all relatively easy to set up. The most advanced or detailed would be the automations or the flows. And so even for the busiest founder, they can go into Klaviyo, go to the flows section, and there's going to be some pre-programmed flows like welcome flow, abandoned cart flow, and they're going to have templates that will at least get you started. It's not going to be the most aesthetically pleasing email you've ever seen, but the function will be there, the structure will be there, and then you can tailor it to whatever you have the bandwidth for.
Yeah, that's important to know. Can you give us a use case scenario for these? Because I love hearing how you use email marketing, especially like I know you do Facebook ads and what else?
I'm a pretty strong supporter of Facebook, so at this point that's the only platform I'm running ads on.
Okay, good to know. How do you feel about running ads on Facebook as opposed to Google?
So there's a lot of people who still strongly believe in Google. The experiences that I've had with Google, because I did run Google ads first, they take credit for a lot of things that they actually didn't do the work for. And for example, 6 months after I turned off my Google ads and was only running Facebook ads, Google was still at times taking credit for sales that were coming from Google ads that were not running for months on end. So the data is just very messy, very hard to keep track of. And just a quick tangent between the two. Most people liked Google versus Facebook because Google is search intent based. So like for my MacBook case brand, for example, if you Google MacBook cases, Google ads are going to continue hitting you and serving you those ads because they know that you're already in the market for it. As to where Facebook is social, so it's visual, cool graphics, funny videos, things that are relevant to people looking more so to be entertained. And because it's visual, it's visually stimulating, so it pulls people in that way. So two different styles of advertising. But as Facebook has grown and evolved and they've built on their AI platform, they have now included intent-based targeting. So the keywords that you use, the captions that you use, all those things, they're also getting you for the intent search-based that Google was cornering the market on before. So now, even if you search for MacBook cases in Google, Facebook ads are going to hit you for that as well. And they're more visual than Google ads. So it's kind of the best of both worlds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ready to get married with Facebook ads.
Basically, yeah.
Wife material over here.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. Okay, thanks for breaking that down. But I do want to know about your use case scenarios with specifically your email marketing. Mm-hmm. Like what have you been able to do and maximize on with that platform?
Yeah, so again, I'll use one of my own brands just because that's my laboratory. So I do all my experimenting and fun stuff. So standard welcome flow, when people join the list, they get a series of emails that explains who are we as a brand, where are we located, where do we make our products, why should you buy ours instead of someone else's, reviews of customers that we have before, and each one of those topics is broken up into a separate email that you would get over the course of like 2 weeks. So it's like if you sign up for my email list and you're not ready to buy something on day one, we're going through like a 2-week dating process of you learning more about me to see if there's a point where you're more interested in coming to buy a product. On a weekly basis, I send out an email on Mondays. It's called Mission Monday. And I almost never talk about my actual products. And it's exclusively indirect content. So I'm talking about things that my customers care about outside of my products. So we make MacBook cases. Obviously, the customers have MacBooks or other Apple products. So we always touch on Apple news, new software updates, new hardware updates, like new products that are coming out, updates from the brand, obviously, and then kind of building a persona around Apple fans as well. We talk about things like coffee and productivity and remote working and entrepreneurship and kind of everything that's in the room with my product is the way I like to look at it. And so we like to touch on all those things to kind of build a world around my product that the customer can live in and interact with and engage in, so that when it comes time that they are in the market to buy my product, we're going to be top of mind. We're going to be who they think of. And so that's what I try to accomplish with our weekly newsletter. And we consistently drive revenue through that. We get sales every week from that newsletter.
To be clear, do you also do a blog post on these same materials?
I do, yeah. So I'm using the newsletter to drive traffic to the blog so that there actually is substantial information that creates value for them, whether they're shopping or not. But that valuable information also happens to live on my website where the products are. So they're in very close proximity to those products.
So then in reality, are you getting both your email list visiting this blog post and just Google searches visiting the blog post?
Yeah, so it's checking both boxes.
That's amazing. Just for transparency with our busy business owners, is this you doing all of this?
Right now it's me. Yeah, so I'm brainstorming the content, writing the content. I do it in batches, so I'll do like months at a time so that I can be efficient, utilize ChatGPT and refine it and have quality content, but I'm not spending a ton of time on one blog post and having to start all over again the next week. I'll do 3-4 months at a time, save it all in Google Drive so that when it's time to send that email, I can just copy paste and send it out.
So brilliant. Again, like I said, I'm so impressed by how you've managed to turn this into a well-oiled machine and still have other businesses that you're attending to. It's really incredible, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you continuously blow up. And this is not the end of the episode. I'm just giving you your flowers where they're deserved.
Thank you.
Well, one of the things that I did want to talk about was how we spent so much time figuring out what the email marketing strategy could be, like what that drip campaign would actually consist of for our individual group members that were in the Resilience Lab. It was like, okay, but that's just half of the solution, because now you have the program, you have the system to bring people to. Now you have to focus on that lead magnet, that event that you are focusing on to get this group to actually click on this button. And so let's talk about that a little bit. Like, what do you recommend happen in order to get people to even sign up to the newsletters?
Yeah, so you have to provide value in some way. So whichever platform you choose to utilize to build your list, whether that's if you're an influencer and you can push your audience to join your email list, or if it's you're paying money to run ads and you want those ads to drive people to your email list, or you're doing physical events in person, like a farmer's market, and give away a free sample or a free product if people join the email list, like that kind of thing. No matter what it is, driving people to that list, there should be a value assigned to it. When it comes to e-commerce, like selling a product, a lot of times it may just be that first order discount. And so they want to sign up, get the discount, buy a product, unsubscribe. And that happens. That's just the nature of the beast. It's to be expected. But if your content is good enough that they're interested in it with standalone value, even if they're not buying a product, you're much more likely to capture them for the long term and then let them live in your environment, and you can continue to send new content and kind of nurture them until they are ready to convert, whether that's buying a product or booking a call or booking a studio space or whatever it may look like. The goal is to keep them in the room until they're ready to take action.
Yes, and what I recommended for our members to do is to first focus on the system itself. Don't get lost in the sauce about what content am I going to put out? How am I going to attract all these people? Who am I attracting exactly today? Like, I found myself saying, stop thinking about that, because first of all, it's debilitating considering that it's just too much information with only half of the ingredients. And so it was like grabbing them and shaking them a little bit through the screen and being like, no, focus, like the system first. And then based on what is in your system, that's what you create content with. And it just became so much more clearer, and your steps become clearer at that point too. Because then no matter what you do, as long as you always point people to that list, you can keep going. That was something really important that we learned today.
One thing I would say about the content itself is you were talking about creating the system first and then focusing on the content. I think it's important to differentiate that there's two different types of content. In these automated emails, the stuff where you build it one time and then it just lives there and people continue to receive those automatically, that's your evergreen content. So that's like building blocks, cornerstones, the most important pieces of your business for people to know. For example, if you're trying to find clients that want to start their own brand, then it should be, what are the 4 or 5 most important elements of starting your brand? Those are things that are never going to change, at least not quickly. Like, that information will stay important for a long time. So that will be your automated flow. That's evergreen content. You don't have to change it. It stays the same. And then your short-term content can then evolve with time, and even a conversation that we had earlier, as people engage with your brand, engage with your business, engage with that evergreen content, more issues may come up, more questions may come up, just naturally more problems that they're facing. And that is providing you a stream of ideas for your new short-term content. So you can address those issues, address the questions that they have. It's information that they are already asking for, that they want. So if you can provide an answer to that or a solution for it, again, you're creating value and then pushing them into your evergreen content, which is also helpful. It builds a foundation. So there's kind of those two different buckets.
Yeah, I see. Thank you. I think this is all very helpful information and helps to tie in like what we can do at home by ourselves. Our members will have access to you. We'll have monthly webinars with you, and we're also making curated content based on all of these situations that we're learning from our members. So that's what I'm really excited to partner with you and help extract some of the information that you already know and really prep us for either doing it ourselves or working with someone like you so that we're equipped to actually be helpful and know what we're asking and what it more or less what it takes. There's so many little details that we'll be able to pull from like the knowledge and experience that you've had. I appreciate you joining me on this podcast today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So if you would like to be a part of the Resilience Lab, please join us in the link of the show notes. There are limited spots available, but we are really looking forward to pulling some of this information and putting it into the membership platform of Métier Council. So we'll see you on the next episode of Your True Work by Métier Council.